Good afternoon, Space Engineers, and welcome back to DADBEAR.Downtime for another video in our Creative Build series. We're going to pick up where we left off in our last video, where we built and tested this small grid plunge or quarry miner, and we are going to modify it to use an automatic or an autonomous mining script known as PAM, Path Auto Miner. Originally created by Keks. Keks is retired from modding, so there haven't been any recent updates to it, but it's still mostly functional. You can find versions of Path Auto Miner script that have been modified or improved, added functions, taken away by other creators, and those are being updated regularly, but the original still does work, and that is what I am familiar with, so that is what we are going to be putting in. Once I get a little bit more knowledgeable about some of the more up-to-date versions by other creators, I may switch over to that, but we are going to set it up with the original Path Auto Miner script, or PAM. Since the last video, I did come in and make a couple of changes that I had talked about. I did remove the extra small atmospheric engine that I had placed here on the left or port side of the ship. It was not necessary. I also went ahead and added 4 additional small atmospheric thrusters for lift on the back, like we discussed, or I had mentioned, and I took it out for a test run just to make sure that the added thrusters did not change our power consumption. The only other change I made, actually 2 other changes I made, down here on this middle drill, we originally had a T conveyor tube, and then we had a regular conveyor tube over here. I have replaced those with conveyor blocks, and the reason for that will be explained as we go through this. I also added the 3rd gyro that I had mentioned about adding, which will make maneuvering, especially rolling, roll to left and right, up and down, a little bit easier when we have a full load. So that is what I did off camera. There is one other thing I would like to do before we will call this version of this small grid plunge / quarry miner complete, and that is to add lights. When we were drilling out, I did mention that it is a good idea to have lights on here, and that is what we are going to do. So we're going to put some exterior lights, we're going to group them and throw them in the toolbar so that they are easily accessible, and let's do that first. I'm going to try to place these lights in such a way that I am keeping in mind future exterior styling. And functions that we will be adding. So I think what I'm going to try here, we're going to do this on both sides. That'll give us some side to side. I'm going to put one here. I'm not going to put any on the front just yet because there will be, I'll probably not get the styling right the first time, and that might change where the lights go. So we'll do the lights on the front another time because we also will be including spotlights. But that is what we've got right now. So I'm going to jump in the cockpit real quick. I'm going to turn everything on. I am going to disconnect and move away because we are going to do a quick blueprint of this we're actually going to update the initial blueprint that I made. So we're going to do that by coming out, centering, and putting our crosshairs on this grid. And we're going to hit Control-C. That is going to give us a copy that we can place if we want to, but we're not going to do that. What this does is this copied it, it's on our clipboard. Now we're going to hit F10, go into our blueprint menu. We're going to select the original blueprint I've made of this, and now we are going to hit replace. And what this is going to do is it's going to ask you if you want to replace the blueprint in your library with what is on the clipboard, and that is what we have in front of us. Yes, I do. This is how you update a blueprint. It does not change the screenshot. So and we can go ahead and close that. And then if you hit escape, that'll clear that. So this is going to be our first version of this miner. It is naked, it has no styling on it, and it is basic. This is completely operated by a pilot with all basic controls. So the next version will be this same setup, but with the requirements to run PAM installed. Again, no styling, but PAM enabled. The final version will be PAM enabled with some exterior styling. I want to give you the opportunity to style this the way you want, rather than live with what my limited creativity can come up with and force you to change it. So, but let's go ahead and back up. We're going to park again. We're going to group these lights. I can actually do that real quick while we're in here. And we can add that to the bar real quick. Any additional lights that get added to this will just be added to this group. So now you can see our toolbar. I moved the antenna, or I got rid of the antenna control and replaced it with just turning on the drills, so that you don't have to hold it if you don't want to. And we've got our exterior light group there, which we can go ahead and turn off. Ooh, glad I didn't have anything in there. That was a little bit harder than I wanted to hit that. Alright, so we've turned off our motors. Alright, so the things we're going to need for PAM are basically in our toolbar, with the exception of the lights. You don't need the lights for PAM, of course. We've got the program block, which we are going to need a program block itself. We also have a sensor here. We're going to use a sensor. Either version, either vanilla or automaton is fine. We will not need a timer block. If you decide to do some more advanced actions, you may use a timer block, but we are not going to do that. Of course, no custom controller, no event controller, no action relay or broadcast controller. For our program block, I am going to use the automaton block. Can't quite see how that's set up. There we go. Okay, yeah, that looks good. And then down here, I'm going to put it right here. We're going to switch over to our remote control, and we are going to use that. You want to make sure that your remote control is facing the direction of your cab or forward. You may not have a cab. If you do a completely just a drone version of this miner, you won't have a cab. Just make sure this is pointing forward. The arrows on the top indicate which direction is forward, as well as the eye on the front. Now, what do we have here? Camera. Okay, I like to put a camera on the bottom. If for a plunge miner, I like to put it on the bottom so that if I want to, I can center as best as possible over the ore that I am trying to collect. So remember the orientation of your camera. For small grid, it has camera written across the top, but it doesn't on the large grid. So the dot is the bottom. Put that in place. And next, this is where we're going to put our sensor. Now it's the placement of these two components, the camera and the sensor, that are the reason why we changed these blocks from tubes to conveyor blocks, because tubes do not have a mounting point. Now for your sensor, the white line on the face of the sensor is the bottom. Think of it as a mouth, like a face. That's the bottom. So if we place this here, and then I jump to this, I want to make sure you kind of understand what direction is what. There is a small arrow on the front that indicates that that is up also. But remember, this is as if you're looking from the sensor's perspective. So if we're looking the same direction of the sensor, this is up, this is down, this is left, and this is right. Of course, when you're looking at it like this is left, this is right. Just keep that in mind. Now those are the only things that are required for PAM. Program block to hold the script. You need a remote control. The camera is not required for PAM, but it is very helpful. And then you have a sensor. The sensor must be orientated in the direction that your drills are going. So since these drills are pointed down, that's why the sensor is pointed down. If they were mounted on the front or the sides or the back, the sensor would be pointing out. So I know that's probably common sense. I don't know if it needed to be said, but I'm just making sure that's clear. So let's go to our, first of all, I'm going to grab this so that I can cut and paste it onto our new blocks. So the automaton programmable block. I'm going to go ahead and paste in our name, and then I am going to delete this, and we're going to shorten that with PB. And just so we know what's being put in this programmable block, I'm going to put PAM. It doesn't have to be in any brackets or parentheses, but I'm going to put it in parentheses. This, again, this is just for awareness purposes. Camera, again, this is not required for PAM, just a helpful thing to have. Remote control. We'll come back to this because we have to give this a specific name. And same here. Now, real quick, one other option, piece of equipment that you can use it for large grids, you can use it for small grids, is an LCD. Now, the reason I did not install an LCD for this is because I plan on using LCD here in the front of my screens. Okay, so you can see I was doing a test earlier. That's why this is already changed. But let's go in and set up our programmable block. So we're going to do a quick search for PB. There's no program or script loaded. We're going to hit edit. This is going to allow us to put it in. If you want to edit code straight here, you can do that. We already have a script saved, so we are going to PAM. We're going to do a search, and here you go. So this is the original version by Keks. This is the one we're going to use. This is SEnX's edition of the Path Auto Monitor. Again, updated. This is fully updated. The last time Keks updated this was in 2019. The fact that this script still works, even after not being updated since 2019, should speak to how good this script was. So We are going to use this, the original one, so we're going to hit copy to editor. Okay. Here, if you haven't used this before, you can go through and see some of the instructions. There are some things that can be adjusted in here, but really the most important thing you need to know is that it provides information for how to tag blocks that are associated with PAM. So the remote control, the sensor, and any LCD that you use. Again, we're going to be using cockpit LCDs. Any LCD you use will have to be tagged appropriately for PAM to recognize it. So the string command here for tagging something with PAM is to put what's inside the quotation marks in the name of that block. So not the quotation marks themselves, but just what's inside the quotation marks. In this case, that is a left bracket, capital PAM, right bracket. Now, the controller tag. This is specifically for the remote control. This has to be added to the name. Again, inside the quotation marks only. Left bracket, capital PAM, dash, capital CONTROLLER, right bracket. Okay, and it has to match. Okay, if you want to change this to something easier, you can do that. You can do it right here on this screen. Okay, we're not going to do that though. So, for LCDs, you see the instruction here. The tag for LCDs of cockpits and other blocks. If you're using a cockpit, you're going to use this format here. Left bracket, PAM, colon, the LCD index, which I'll show you in just a moment, right colon. This is an example. This is what it would look like. PAM, bracket, PAM, colon 1, bracket. If it's just a regular LCD, all you have to do is bracket, capital PAM, in bracket. Okay, that's it. So those are the tags we're going to use. That's probably the most important thing to get out of this if you're using it for the first time is the tags. Your tag, your controller tag, and your LCDs. Okay. We're going to hit check code, make sure that there's no issues. Compilation was successful. We're going to hit OK, and now we're going to hit OK. This is now loaded with PAM, and you can see now over here on our bottom right, we've got the program menu. In order to interact with this, you have to put in a command or an argument here, and then you'll hit run. If you ever run into a problem with the program, before you unload it or get rid of it, try recompiling it. That kind of reloads the script, and you should be fine. Let's go out to our PAM blocks, our controller. Let's go to that. Remember, the tag for that was bracket, PAM, all caps, dash, capital C, controller. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to shorten this up a little bit just because there's not a whole lot of space here, and then I'm just going to integrate that PAM into the name already there. So we've got bracket, PAM, all caps, dash, and then I'm going to add the LER, close bracket. That is now the PAM controller. Let's go to our sensor. Now for this, all we need to do is add the basic tag, PAM, close bracket. Now to give this commands, we're going to have to do that from, you can do it in that window, or you can do it in the control bar, and that's what we're going to do. Again, this is already set up, so I'm gonna go ahead and bounce back to this because I did not set up the LCDs, and I apologize. So to use your cockpit's LCDs, you go to your cockpit screen, or your cockpit in the control panel, and when you scroll down and you see the LCD panels that are available, however many LCDs are in your cockpit, you're going to have listed here. And from top to bottom, they're numbered. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So whichever screen you want to be the one that displays the PAM menu, that's the number you're going to want to use. And as you can see, this here, I'm going to have to make a change to this. Our cap cockpit, you can see I need to get rid of this part right here. There we go. I've added the LCD for cockpits. I want to use display 3, LCD 3. So we've added PAM, colon, the number 3. Okay, so a quick look at our LCDs. You can see we now have the PAM menu on our main LCD there. It's a little hard to read, so let's go ahead and change that. Center screen, that's got our PAM in it. And try to look through your GUI. You can change, as you change this, you can see that the size of the text grows. That should fill the screen. Yep. I also like to adjust the colors to make it easier to see for me. I tend to like orange on a black background. And I would keep the alignment to the left. Just my personal recommendation. Okay, so there is our menu. A little bit easier to see. Now we need to set up the commands. There's no way to move the cursor on this display up and down without using the in-game script commands. So we need to tell the program block to move the cursor up or down and to select whatever it is in front of. So we're going to do that on our second menu, our second toolbar. We're going to open G, make sure we're in all blocks. You can always do a search. PB, another reason why we shortened that name, make it easy to find. And from here, if you right click, of course you have all the different options. You are going to want to choose run. And now it's going to ask you for the command you want to run. I want this to be up. This will move the cursor up. If I right click and hit run again, it's going to ask me for a command. Now I want it to say down. And as you can see, we're filling hotkeys on our toolbar. And the last one is going to allow us to select whichever line we have moved to. And the command for that is apply. And that is how we are going to run the script. There are other commands, and in some of the updated versions of PAM, there are more advanced commands. Make sure you read through the code when you've got it up. Just click the edit text button when you're on the programmable block, and you can go through and look to see what kind of specific commands are available. There may also be a guide for the script in the Steam Workshop. So now we have that on our control bar. So let's set up a basic job and go from there. We're probably going to I'm going to move up to, we'll say, the foothills of the mountain up there, so I'm not in the flats where we might run over it, where I might run over it in the future with another grid. Okay, we need to set a home and then record a path from the home to the work site. So the order in which I would do this, since we've got different commands on two different toolbars, we currently have our cursor in front of record path and set home. Now notice, if you push your hotkeys, this will move cursor down. Okay, that's how you move the keys. You don't set up a mining job until you've gotten to the job site. We can go ahead and set our behavior settings. These are like overall instructions, not job specific instructions. Since we want to change those, we're going to hit apply, or number 3. And this is where I'm going to be able to tell it, okay, I want the max load to be 90% of the cargo capacity. That's going to be a good one for this particular flyer or miner, so I'm going to leave that. I do want the weight limit on. We do not have ejectors or sorters on this grid yet, so we are going to leave those off. Unload ice. This doesn't always work. I've had it work, I've had it not work. If you collect ice and you want it to unload ice, this would be selected. I'm going to leave it on just because it's not applicable for this right now. There are other things you can do that are more efficient than that and safer. Uranium, this is not a uranium powered vehicle, so I don't need a minimum uranium. I'm going to hit apply until this becomes ignore. I do run on batteries, so if my batteries get down to 20%, it's going to stop. It's going to come back to the base, hook up, and charge. I do not have hydrogen, so we're going to turn that to ignore. When done, the grid should return home. If the grid gets damaged, it should return home. Advanced. apply. Drill inventory balancing. If one drill fills and none of the other drills have anything in it, what this will do is it will distribute the contents of the full drill to all the other drills. Enabling drills forward and backwards. Work speed forward. Okay, so when you're moving forward, this is the speed at which the vehicle will move forward into the job. I like to slow this down a little bit just so that you get less chance of stuff bumping. So we're going to move down and we're going to hit apply until we get to, I'm going to go 0.5 meters a second. Coming back up is not that big of a deal. Acceleration 70%, I don't have too much of a problem. Width overlap, I like to put this at 10. Height overlap, oh, went back, there we go. 10, and that's the way I set it up. Hit apply to go back. And now we're going to do our record path and set home. So when you hit apply here, the program block is going to start recording your path. If it's going to come back and unload to a connector, you do not want to start this without being connected to the connector. So we're going to hit apply. I'm going to jump out into third person. I'm going to wait a few seconds before I disconnect. Let's make sure our engines are on, our ore detector is on, and now I'm going to hit unlock. So from here, the program block is recording the path you take. I'm going to go ahead and switch to our second toolbar so that when I hit apply the next time, it will stop recording. Again, I am not looking for a particular ore here. I am just getting to the place that I want to drill. I'm going to choose this, what looks like a kind of flat area here. We'll go right over this spot of grass. And then I'm going to go ahead and drop down to about 10 meters above the surface. Quick look. Yeah, we're close. Okay, I'm going to jump back into the cockpit so you can see what we're doing. You can see it's waiting to see when to stop. So now I'm going to hit apply, number 3, and that has recorded our home to job site path of travel. It will follow that back to the base. It will follow it back out here to the job site. So now we're going to set up the mining job. We're going to go down. Before we do that, we want to hit our control panel and go into info, and we want to show the sensor field range. So we're going to select this, and we're going to hit apply to set up the mining job. Now, if we jump out to third person, you can see that our sensor range is now shown on the screen. Now, I'm going to move forward a little bit because I want to center this kind of in this green patch. And let's go back in and take a look at our job options here. So I'm going to go down. We want to drill a box, basically a square that is a width of 3 blocks. And you can adjust this by hitting apply for here. If you hit it on this, it will raise it. If you go down, it will lower it. We're going to go 3 by 3, and then we're going to choose the depth. This says 30 meters. Remember, we're 10 meters above the ground, so that's going to take you down about 20 meters. We're going to leave it at that. We're going to continue to go down. Depth mode. I don't mess with this a lot. I'm going to leave it on default. because we're just demonstrating this. Starting position. Do you want to start at the top left of the block, or do you want to start in the center? I prefer to start in the center, so that's where we're going to go. There's no more to go, so we go back up to start new job, and when we hit apply, this will begin doing its drilling. Now before we do that, I want to just give you a heads up. You can see where our box starts. It starts at the face of the sensor. Our drills are actually lower than that. So you don't want to, if you put the corner of the box into the voxels, as your ship is moving around, the drills may catch and it may knock the ship off. It may damage the ship. So that's one of the reasons why finding a nice flat area is preferred. Of course, if you're using a horizontal miner, totally different story. But you want to make sure that your drills are slightly higher, and we'll do that a little bit higher, than the highest elevation of voxel. We'll go back to our screen. We're going to hit start new job, and this is going to get to work. Now from here, you can see this. I'm not doing anything. This is all doing it itself. In fact, I can get out, and this will continue its job. Now once, it will continue to drill down until it reaches one of those criteria that we set in the advanced or in the behavior. So if it gets up to 90% full, which is going to be soon, because again, we're not a high capacity miner there, it'll fill up soon, and then it will come back out and it will fly back to base. Yeah, we should fill up pretty quick here. In fact, if we jump back in, we can kind of see where we're at. Oh, we're full. So we're going to get out, and we're just going to follow the plunge miner back and watch it do its thing. Again, it's going to follow the exact reverse of the way we came in. Getting ready to connect, and there you go. Now the difference between this, you can see the job activity right now. We've done 3.7% of the job. Its current state is unloading. We're at a 39.3% of our cargo capacity. Batteries at 100%. The ship is full. That was the last message they received. That's what kicked off it leaving the job site. Now, PAM does not automatically unload your ship. So this will stay connected as long as it takes for the material to be unloaded, which means your refineries are determining how fast that gets pulled out. Now the best way to expedite this is to add a sorter to your base. Now that you can see that we unloaded that, it says, okay, we're empty, we're ready to go back, and there we go. So guys, that's how PAM works. Again, I would, even though I've used this a lot, I have never had to get very in-depth into the user's guide, but I would definitely recommend checking that out. This was a fantastic script made by Keks. Like I said, it has stood the test of time and very useful. So we're set up to do automatic mining here. All right, I hope you liked the video. I know I'm a little long-winded, but I hope I didn't waste too much of your time. This is going to be our second iteration of this miner. Again, the third one. The next video will be us adding a little bit of extra function to the miner, as well as adding some exterior styling or greebling. So thanks again for watching the video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, and while you're there, click that subscribe button and that notification bell so you know when we got new stuff coming out. We have a couple of series, Space Engineers playthroughs that we're running right now, and we've got some other projects that are on the planning board. So you'll find out when those things come about. Also, if you know somebody that might like the content or that is looking to build something similar to this, hit that share button and let them know about it. Also, comments. If you've got questions, suggestions, things you noticed that I might have missed, things that I forgot, please let me know in the comments. I will definitely get back to you. I'm also looking for a name for this miner, so throw in your suggestions for that, and I hope to see you soon. You guys take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and always, always be safe. Remember, close your visor, and don't forget those dampeners, and I'll see you on the other side. But until then, I should go.